So today, 3.3, we are adding, subtracting, and multiplying polynomials. So what we're going to notice here is, remember how yesterday, or day before yesterday, we were factoring, so we were taking a trinomial and breaking it up into something that looked like this. So if we had x squared plus 3x plus 2, we used diamond method on that, and we broke it up into x plus 1 times x plus 2. Today, we're going backwards. So we're starting with x plus 1 times x plus 2, and we're going to be putting it into the trinomial form. So on Monday or Friday, we were breaking it up by factoring. Today, we're going to be putting it all back together by multiplying. And then we're also going to throw in adding and subtracting as well. So let's start with what is the easiest, adding and subtracting. So there's two methods that you can use to add polynomials. You can either add them vertically, which means you're going to line up the like terms. So you're just going to line up the like terms, and basically addition is just combining like terms. So nothing happens to the exponents here. We are just looking at the coefficients. Okay, so let's look at this. So I lined up everything vertically. I put my x cubes on top of each other, my x squareds. There was no x in the second one, so I just went straight to my numbers. Okay. So looking at this, x to the third, there's nothing in front of it, so there's actually an invisible 1 there. So what's 3x to the third plus 1x to the third? It's going to give me 4x to the third power. We're just combining like terms here. So 3 plus 1 is going to give me 4. Negative 2x squared minus 5x squared is going to give me negative 7x squared. 4x plus nothing is going to give me 4x. And then negative 6 plus 3 is going to give me negative 3. All my like terms are combined, so I'm done there. Okay, we can also add our polynomials horizontally. So we're just going to be combining like terms there, not having to line everything up. The way I do it for this then is I take my like terms and I either box or circle or underline them so I know which ones go together. So for this example, we have 2y to the third plus 7y squared minus 6y, all of that goes together, plus negative 4y squared plus 3y minus 9. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for my y to the thirds and add those, my y to the seconds and add those, my y's and my numbers, and add only the like terms. So let's add them up. I have 2y to the third, and then looking at my other one, I don't have any y to the third. So I'm just going to be left with 2y to the third. That's the only one of that type that there is. I also have plus 7y squared and minus 4y squared, so that's going to give me plus 3y squared. Negative 6y plus 3y is going to give me minus 3y. And then we have negative 9 out here all by itself, so that's just a minus 9. And that's your answer. Subtraction is a little bit trickier. We can also do vertically and horizontally. So same thing, you line up your, if you want to use the vertical method, you line up your like terms, but make sure that you put parentheses around the second polynomial, because since we're subtracting, that's going to change the signs of everything here. So if I'm subtracting something, what does that mean that's going to happen to the signs? They're all going to change. So this 6 is going to become a minus 6x to the third. This plus 3x squared is going to be minus 3x squared. Minus 7x is going to become plus 7x. And then the plus 5 becomes a minus 5. Okay? Then we can combine like terms. So that's going to give me 7x to the third minus 6x to the third. That's 1x to the third. 6x squared minus 3x squared is plus 3x squared. Oh no, 6x squared minus 3x squared. Negative 9, oh my gosh. Minus 9x squared. There we go. So negative 6x squared minus 3x squared gives me negative 9x squared. Negative 3x plus 7x gives me plus 4x. And 7 minus 5 gives me plus 2. There we go. I don't particularly care for the vertically adding and subtracting, only because for subtraction it's a little bit more difficult. If we use the horizontal method for subtraction, it's a little bit easier and a little bit cleaner. So basically we have this whole thing again, 8x squared minus 5x plus 11, all of that minus 12x squared minus 9x minus 3. So what do you guys see here? Does anybody see distributive property? Yeah, there's an invisible 1 right here, and we can distribute that negative 1. So if I were to distribute the negative 1 into the parentheses, that would give me a whole brand new problem. 8x squared minus 5x plus 11. Negative 1 times 12x squared is minus 12x squared. Negative 1 times negative 9 is plus 9x. And negative 1 times negative 3 is plus 3. Now I can just go ahead and combine like terms. So I have 8x squared minus 12x squared. So that's going to give me negative 4x squared. Negative 5x plus 9x is going to be plus 4x. And then plus 11 plus 3 is going to be plus 14. So nothing happens with the exponents when we are adding and subtracting. Basically, when we are adding and subtracting, all we are doing for the entire thing is combining like terms. So I'm going to write that as a note. Adding and subtracting, no matter which method you use, all we're doing is combining like terms. Okay, so adding and subtracting, no matter if you use vertical or horizontal method, is just combining like terms. Nothing happens to the exponents there. You're just adding and subtracting the coefficients. It's multiplication that changes the exponents. So let's look at a multiplication. When we are multiplying polynomials, I'm usually going to be given typically what's called a binomial. Does anybody have a guess as to why these guys are called binomials? Because there's two of them, like a bicycle. Okay, you're not always going to get a binomial, but the idea is still the same. So in Algebra 1, think back, how many of you learned the FOIL method? Okay, good. How many of you learned the boxes, the box method, or both? Okay, I prefer FOIL method. For this problem specifically, I'm going to show you both. You can pick which method you want to use. Okay, so let's use the FOIL method first. So here's FOIL method. We call it FOIL because FOIL actually stands for something. The F in FOIL stands for first. So what that means is we're going to take the first two terms and multiply them together. So what is x times x going to give me? X squared. Good. Okay. The O stands for outside. X times the other outside term, which is negative 5. X times negative 5 is going to give me what? Good, negative 5x. I stands for the inside. Negative 3 times x, so negative 3x. And then the L stands for last, the two last terms. Negative 3 times negative 5, which gives me positive 15. Okay, now we're not done. We can combine like terms here. Negative 5x minus 3x is going to give me x squared minus 8x plus 15. Okay. That's the FOIL method. Okay, another method that also works is what we call the box method. Okay. For the box method, because the first parentheses has 2 and the second parentheses has 2 terms, we're going to make a 2 by 2 box. So there's 4 squares in there. Across the top, we're going to put one of the binomials, so x minus 3. Down the side, we're going to put the other one, x minus 5. And then all we do is we multiply the left side by the top, and we put our answer in the box that corresponds. So x times x is going to give me x squared. X times negative 3 is going to give me negative 3x. Negative 5 times x is going to give me negative 5x. And then negative 5 times negative 3 gives me plus 15. So I have all my boxes filled in. I take the diagonal, and then I add those together. So I'm going to get x squared minus 8x plus 15. So we added the two diagonals, negative 5x minus 3x. I prefer the FOIL method just because it takes up less space. I don't think it takes as long because you don't have to draw the box. If you are a more visual learner and more spatial and like to have a picture or what we call a graphic organizer like this, go ahead and use the box. You can use either method. You will get the same answer either time. Okay? If you are more algebraically minded or like the logical kind of step-by-step, the FOIL method is probably for you. Okay? So you can choose which method you like. It doesn't matter to me which one you pick. Okay, so let's look at example 1. All of our examples, guys, have to do with multiplying the polynomial. The reason why we do the addition and subtraction first is because that's all of our combining like terms. Okay, so example 1, we have x minus 3 times x squared plus 2x minus 5. So I'm going to use the FOIL method because I think it's a little bit easier when we have longer problems like this. If you want to use the box method, all you would do is set up your box. But because we have a binomial with 2 and a trinomial with 3, we would make a 3 by 3 box. So you would just set it up, x squared plus 2x minus 5 across the top and x minus 3 down the side. That's how you would set up your box. That's what it should look like. I'm going to use the FOIL method. Okay, so FOIL method basically is the same thing as distributive property. So all we're going to do is we're going to take our first term, which is x, and we're going to multiply it by everything in the second set of parentheses. So let's write it all out. X times x to the second power is going to give me x to the third. Then we take x and we multiply it by positive 2x, so that's going to give me plus 2x to the second. And then x times negative 5 is going to give me minus 5x. So we multiplied x by every single thing inside the parentheses, because FOIL and distributive property are basically the same thing. We take each term and distribute it to the next set of parentheses. Now we did that for the x, we have to do the exact same thing for the -3. So we take that -3 and we multiply it by everything in the set of parentheses. -3 times x squared is going to give me -3x squared. -3 times 2x is going to give me -6x. And -3 times -5 gives me +15. We're not done because now we have to combine like terms. So first I'm going to look at my x to the third. I don't see any other x to the third, so I'm just going to rewrite x to the third down below. Now I'm looking at my x squared. So I have 2x squared minus 3x squared. So that's going to give me minus 1x squared. I have negative 5x minus 6x. So that's going to give me negative 11x. And then I have my plus 15 off by itself in the end. So plus 15. All my like terms are combined. So that's my answer. So what happens when you're multiplying three things? Basically, you're going to be doing the FOIL method, but twice. So you're either going to have to make 2 boxes or do the FOIL method twice. So what we're going to do is we're first going to multiply from left to right the first 2 binomials, and then we're going to take that answer and multiply it by the one that was left over. Okay? So we still have to follow order of operations and that we multiply from left to right. We just have to do the process twice this time because there's 3 things here. Okay, so do either FOIL or box on x minus 3 times x plus 7. So that's going to give me x times x is x squared. X times 7 is going to be plus 7x. Negative 3 times x is minus 3x. And negative 3 times 7 is minus 21. All of that should be in parentheses because we're still multiplying by x plus 1. So we're still taking this whole thing and multiplying by x plus 1. So make sure you keep it in parentheses. Okay? And now we're going to have to do FOIL method again. But to make things a little easier on us, let's combine like terms first. So that's going to be x squared. 7x minus 3x is plus 4x minus 21 times x plus 1. Okay, so now we're going to do the exact same thing that we just did in the previous problem. It doesn't matter that x minus 1 comes second. We're still going to distribute the x to everything in that trinomial. So x times x gives me x to the third. X times 4x is going to be plus 4x squared. And x times negative 21 is minus 21x. Then we do the exact same thing to the 1. So we multiply everything by 1. X squared times 1 is plus x squared. 4x times 1 is plus 4x. And negative 21 times 1 is negative 21. Okay. Really quickly, I'm going to combine like terms. So we have x to the third with nothing else. So that's x to the third. 4x squared plus x squared is plus 5x squared. Negative 21x plus 4x is minus 17x. And then minus 21. Okay, hold on guys, really quick. Example 3, I'm not going to make you write it down, but we have a trinomial times a trinomial. You're basically going to be doing the exact same thing we just did. You take this guy and distribute it to everything. You take the second one and distribute it to everything, and then you take the third one and also distribute it to everything. Okay, so you just take each individual term and distribute it. Okay, really quick, hold on guys. Example 4, we see this a lot, and I don't want you to make the same mistake that I always see. Okay, I have 3x minus 2, all of that squared. This is what I see quite often. I take that exponent of 2, I distribute it in. So that's going to give me 3x squared minus 2 squared. The reason why we can't do this is because in yesterday's lesson, everything that was in the parentheses was being multiplied. What do you notice about this right here? They're being subtracted. So we can't do this. What you have to do is take the binomial and multiply it by itself. Because when I have something like x squared, that's x times x, right? So what we have to do here is we have to take 3x minus 2 times 3x minus 2 and then use FOIL or box on that, because you will not get this as your answer. Okay? So just make sure that you expand and then multiply. Okay? So I'm going to write that note. Expand, then multiply. Okay? All right.